Today in our hot seat, we got Daniel Gray, Chief Revenue Officer of Planned Localization. Good to have you here.
Guys, hello. Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Are you ready? Shall we do this?
Let's do it.
Welcome to C-Suite Hot Seat, the show where we put C-level executives from language service providers of all sizes in the hot seat. We will ask tough questions and get inspired answers. Our hosts today are Sarah Hickey, VP of Research, and Josef Kubovsky, CEO at Nimdzi Insights.
Daniel, in just one sentence, what is it that your company does?
Blend Localization is a localization services and technology provider. Like many other localization providers, we help companies go global. So it's a really exciting industry. I'm looking forward to the chat. I've been in the industry for nearly 25 years. Wow. So amazing to see where the industry has gotten to.
Wow, that's great.
Revenue-focused people, they cannot say one sentence.
Honestly, nobody ever says just one sentence when they say
that was one sentence.
A very long sentence with many commas and semicolons. Yeah. So you said you've been in the industry for 25 years, which is a really long time. But I'm wondering, what was the first career that you dreamt of having as a kid?
Interestingly enough, architect.
Oh, cool.
I'm a lot more right-brained, naturally right-brained than left-brained. So I was always drawing houses. I also had kind of a side passion of doing real estate. So I kind of played that out. I did a lot of remodel by myself, but yeah, architect.
When you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
Recently, I have been on a journey of self-development. So I'm a dad of 3, so I spend a lot of time with my kids.
Wow.
But most of my time I spend on self-development. So mind, body, spirit. I do meditation. I do a lot of reading. I use Audible a lot. There's a lot of physiology tied to mental health and development. Right. So as you're moving your body as well as, working your mind and your spirit, it's kind of an entire ecosystem. This is a new journey for me, but I'm so in love with the process. It's amazing.
If you were given a chance to visit 3 countries that you haven't been to yet, like, don't think of the pandemic, anything's possible. Which ones would you like to visit and why?
25 years in the industry, I've been almost to every part of the world already. So there are a couple of places that I haven't been. I would love to go to Australia, obviously. I think it's a beautiful country. I've never been there. And then I'm big into historic countries. So just last year, I was able to finally get to one of my top countries, which was Israel. Amazing experience. So I would love to go to Egypt.
Oh, yeah.
And I would love to go to Turkey.
What is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
The quote is, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And this quote is from Maya Angelou. If you really know how to look for what people are not just saying, but communicating in other ways, believe them the first time. So that's been one of the best pieces of advice that I've received.
Okay, Daniel, now I feel like we know you a bit better, but I don't think these were tough questions yet, right, Sarah?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so.
So let me give you a little tough one there. What's your favorite book?
There's a book that I read early in my career by Dan Millman. It was called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. It's kind of more in the mystical category. I do a lot of reading, business reading, and then the self-development, but Way of the Peaceful Warrior was a book I read, I think in college, and it started me on this journey of self-development. So it's probably my favorite, still my all-time favorite book.
As I know, you developed yourself to the Chief Revenue Officer from being sales, right?
Yes.
How did you get there, and why did you actually end up in sales?
There are 3 things that you can do in any company. You can build it, you can sell it, and you can finance it. So by process of elimination, I do not belong in the finance bucket. I'm not a natural numbers guy, although now I've built that muscle. I did start out as a project manager in localization. When I started out in localization, I started out in Brazil with iDoc, which became Bound Global Solutions, which became Lionbridge. So I started in the build it bucket, and I soon learned that my natural proclivity, my natural superpower was sales, just by way of my personality, my drive, and my gregarious nature. So I've been in sales almost my entire career, both in the localization industry as well as outside. But it's a natural fit with my personality. So that swim lane became my superpower. And that's what I would advocate for anybody, right? Is to get really clear on the fit, what fits you best, but build it, sell it, finance it. I belong in the sell it bucket.
What was your first breakthrough, the moment that you realized that you had to do things differently than the others?
I was working in the localization industry. And by the way, I worked at We Localize, which is a fantastic organization. I've got a lot of respect for Smith Yule and what he's accomplished and his entire team. I did 2 tours of duty at We Localize. And during the first tour of duty, the house I was living at, as I shared, I was doing a lot of do-it-yourself work. And I had to do this huge wall. I had to build this big wall by myself, the foundation, the rebar, the everything. And I said to myself, if I can build this wall, then I know I can go and do my MBA. So I built that wall, and then I applied for my MBA, and I got into the executive MBA program at Loyola Marymount. And when I completed that MBA, I had done so because I said to myself, if I can be number 1 in sales, which I was at the time at We Localize, if I can be number 1 in sales, I know that I can go and sell at some of the bigger companies. And lo and behold, 6 months after I graduated my MBA, I was fortunate enough to be called by Amazon, went through the interview process, and got selected. So from building the wall to joining Amazon Web Services, which was one of the great highlights of my professional career, that's when I knew I had to do something differently. So the wall turned into my MBA, turned into that massive career growth with Amazon.
What does success mean to you? Because you already started speaking about step by step and giving yourselves challenges. So what does a success mean to you?
You'll probably tell that I'm weaving in a lot more of kind of the personal development into my business world. And I would tell you at my age, after 25, 30 years in corporate America, if you think of it, the analogy would be a soccer game, because I'm a huge soccer player. Mm-hmm. During the first half of the game, I was focused on all the external validations of success: the money, the W-2, the title, the company, the house, all the external markers of success. And all the while during that journey, what I failed to do was focus on success inside. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. During the second half of the game, now I've gone into the locker room. That's where I am right now. I'm in the locker room and I'm doing all this work, and I'm realizing what an idiot I was for most of the first half of the game. Would you believe that if you focus on the inside, right? They say the way out is through. Mm-hmm. You focus on the inside and you make sure that you're healthy on the inside. The success, right? That external success, it comes more naturally. Unlike in the past, success for me is about being at peace inside and being happy, addressing my demons, addressing my weaknesses. And if I do those things and I become that better person, I actually show up better as a dad. I show up better as an employee. I show up better as a leader. I'm just having the time of my life.
Let's talk a little bit about your current goals. Aside from the revenue generation, what are the 3 main things you spend your time on?
As a chief revenue officer, I'm responsible for delivering on revenue, delivering on sales and customer success and all that jazz. Those are trailing indicators of my leading indicators. And my leading indicators are, 1, what is the North Star? And giving folks the North Star, if you get people focused on the mission, which has everything to do with emotion and heart, then they will perform, and they will outperform themselves, more than they ever thought they could. So giving folks the North Star is where I focus on. And then in addition to that is inspiring or inspiration, right? So as the chief revenue officer, I am the drivetrain for my global sales and marketing team. Even when we're in turbulence, I have to inspire and keep people focused on that North Star, because it's real easy to get distracted. So inspiration is a second thing I work on a lot. And then not last, but I also do a lot of enablement. I'm not going to sell every single deal, and I'm not going to be the one that carries the ball into the touchdown or scores the goal. So I get a lot more fulfillment by enabling folks and watching the rest of the team score. So in many ways, I have to create an environment where people can grow. I have to create a bench, right? A workbench where people can actually ideate, can fail, can feel safe to both succeed as well as try things, and even if they fail. So those are the three things that I work on. The North Star, it's inspiration, and it's enablement.
Wow. Very nice. Very nice. And you answered another two of my questions, which is one, how do you motivate your team? And what makes you a great leader? I think, that covers it all. What was the biggest challenge you ever overcame?
Most of the companies I've worked in or worked for or worked with are primarily in high tech and in high growth. Amazon has a leadership principle called thinking big. Google has the same leadership principle, which I think is called 10X thinking. Back to North Star, if I can get the team and even the company to think bigger, right, than it thought, you generally will manifest that which is right in your mind. So that's probably the biggest challenge is, am I thinking big enough on behalf of my company, not just myself? So that's probably the biggest challenge thematically throughout. And you build a muscle around constantly thinking big. So I'm always doing it. I wouldn't say that I've cracked the code, but thinking big is the big one.
You talked about the Amazon case. Should that be your biggest success? Should that be the story, or do you have another one for us?
I've learned that there is actually a benefit to trying lots of different things in life and not just being, say, the master of one trade. But I have now, at this point in my career, I've operated in the localization industry. I've operated in fast-moving consumer goods and e-commerce with the HUD Group. I've operated in cloud computing and crowdsourcing with Amazon. I've operated in the major motion picture studios and Hollywood localization with Deluxe Media and Entertainment. And when you take the collection of experiences, it actually, what you bring to the next organization is so much broader, and you can see how different companies did things as opposed to just being in one industry, kind of doing the same thing over and over again. So it's a collective success, which also includes a lot of failures.
What's the most innovative thing that you have done?
I love sales, and not sales in order to convince customers to buy something, but more from a customer obsession and servant leadership perspective. And Amazon, again, with major kudos to their leadership principles, customer obsession is one of their key leadership principles. Around that, during my career, I've been very fortunate to do a lot of formal sales methodology training. Take all that sales training and codify it, I wouldn't say into my own sales methodology, but kind of best of breed. Mm-hmm. So there's customer-centric sales, there's Challenger, there's Spin, there's Miller-Heiman. You kind of take, there is some overlap across those methodologies and right. that science. But when you can codify that science and provide it in a toolkit to a rep, and when the rep uses it and they have that aha moment, like, wow, this tool actually worked. And it actually made the customer happy and delighted the customer. How do you better serve the customer through this sales science? That's probably the most innovative thing that I've done so far in my sales career.
That brings us to the last question, which is, what advice would you give to young sales folks starting their own career in the language industry?
The most successful folks in the industry, and we know lots of them, I think you guys are some of those folks. You have to be passionate. You have to genuinely love what it is that you do, because that comes across even in the most subtlest of things that you say and how you act and how you serve your customers. Your customers can be outside customers. They can be inside customers. They can be colleagues throughout the industry. If you're passionate about it, people will feel that. And that's what people really, that's what inspires people.
Right.
So passion for me, mate, that's job number one, because if I'm passionate about what I do and I do it, world-class work on everything I do, I can infect people. I can inspire people, customers inside and out. But that's the number one thing for me. A lot of folks come in localization. They think it's one thing, but for those of us that stay, I think it's because we genuinely love this industry and love what we do, which is helping people communicate.
That's it. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Wow, I thought the questions were amazing, and you guys did a great job on weaving in and out of kind of the personal and the business. I like the tonality, so I'm just very appreciative for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. if anyone else feels like letting off some steam and you're part of the C-suite at a company in the language services industry, sign up with us if you dare to sit in our hot seat.
And for the viewers, this was all, folks. Thank you for watching, and look out for the next episode that will be published as a video on MultiLingual TV and as a podcast on the Nimdzi website.